Did you know that there are studies that have shown that long-term exposure to electromagnetic frequency, or EMFs, from things like cell phones or Wi-Fi towers can potentially cause brain damage? And other studies have shown that they can cause damage to your reproductive system. So, what are you going to do? Well, one good way to shield yourself is kind of like make a Faraday cage around your head and your reproductive organs, like this. But as stylish as this is, in this video we're going to talk about a little more conventional way that you can protect yourself. That's what's coming up next here on Survival on Purpose. Welcome back to Survival on Purpose, your home for trustworthy information and gear reviews related to camping, survival, and general preparedness for regular folks. My name's Brian. Thanks for joining me for what you've probably already figured out is going to be a very different video. And the way this came about was a company called Lambs Protective Clothing contacted me and asked me if I'd be interested in checking out some of their clothing and having them sponsor a video. So I did a little research before I responded to see what it was all about. And as it turns out, what they do is they make clothing to help protect you from electromagnetic frequencies, or EMFs, from things like cell phones and Wi-Fi towers and things like that. So anyway, as I started doing some research, I found what I consider a pretty compelling argument for why this could be a good idea. So I thought it might help people. So anyway, long story short, obviously we're doing the video and they are sponsoring this video, which means they're paying me to tell you about their stuff. So let's get that right out in the open. So anyway, but you know, here at Survival on Purpose, we're all about the science. So what I thought I'd do is we'll talk a little bit about EMF, why it's potentially dangerous, and how Lambs Protective Clothing can help protect your body from the harmful effects of EMF exposure. So what is EMF? First of all, electromagnetic field. It's a continuous field produced by electrically charged objects such as your cell phone or Wi-Fi. Good. What does that mean for me and you? Well, here's a little factoid I read, that in the 1990s there were 8,000 cell towers in the U.S. and that they were nowhere close to 5G. They weren't putting out near the radiation per tower that they are now. And in the 2010s, there were 154,000. Probably more than that now as we're in 2021. And they're certainly putting out more power than they used to. They were at 5G, some are talking about going to 8G and 10G and who knows what else. So certainly, and there's way more cell phones and other devices like that in our homes now than there used to be. What does that mean as far as how does electromagnetic field potentially harm you? And the studies have shown that the way that it does is it creates oxidative stress. And what happens is that increases the free radicals in your body. I don't know a lot about it, but I know that free radicals are generally bad things. You probably know that too. And if your body's unable to deal with them, it causes oxidative stress and can cause cellular damage, which can lead to things like cancer and all sorts of stuff. So anyway, we'll get to the clothing in just a minute, but first, here's a few things that I learned that convinced me that this might be a good thing to show you, and it might help some people to learn about this. First of all, the National Toxicology Program says there is clear evidence that cell phone radiation causes cancer. The World Health Organization says wireless radiation are categorized as a Class 2B human carcinogen. Here's the one that got my attention, okay? Especially guys, but it's women too. Lower fertility and testosterone. Studies have shown that men who keep their cell phone in their pocket for more than 4 hours per day experience a decrease of up to 50% in sperm count and sperm quality. Pro athlete coaches recommend avoiding exposure to EMFs as it can lower testosterone production. That got my attention, just saying, you know. And there's a lot of other potential problems. Basically, it could potentially be bad for you. And there are, obviously, like anything like this, you're gonna get on the internet, you can find stuff from one side or the other. But let me just say it like this. This is my opinion. If there are a significant number of studies that say something might be bad and might be long-term harmful for you, and there's something you can do to prevent it that's not going to be, you know, weird, and then it might be worth considering, right? So that's where Lambs Protective Clothing comes in, because one of the ways to block EMFs is to use electromagnetic shielding, which basically is a grid of conductive material that blocks the radio waves. Kind of like a little Faraday cage. Well, Lambs Protective Clothing accomplishes this by using what they're calling wave stopper fabric. And wave stopper fabric features Silver Flex, here's an example of it right here inside of one of their shirts. This is basically 44% cotton, 39% silver, and 17% nylon. And it's not only flexy and soft, but it's very comfortable. And the silver not only helps prevent the electromagnetic frequencies from penetrating, but it's also antimicrobial, which means it kills those bacteria that cause that stinky smell in your clothing. So you got a couple of wins there. It's heat conductive also. It's hypoallergenic. It's really good stuff, okay? Their fibers are also toxic free, don't use any nanoparticles, and can't be scratched off or washed out. So it's actually silver woven. It's not just a coating, it's a woven fabric with silver. Oh, it's also UPF 50. So especially if they have a long sleeve version too, that'll keep the sun from cooking you a little bit. So having said all that, let's take a look at their clothing now, because that's where we're at. Okay, I'm talking a little louder because I got my microphone sit down and took it off, just to give you a quick glimpse. So this is one of the t-shirts, and it's extremely comfortable. It doesn't look weird. It's not thick and bulky. It just feels like a nice shirt. It doesn't feel weird on my body at all. It actually feels pretty comfortable and soft. It's extremely soft. And also wanted to show you, you know, if you don't like this, and although I do think this is pretty stylish, then you know they've got this option here, which probably might be a little better for some people, you know. And then I've also got this one to protect that noggin. So, and these both feature Silver Flex fabric. The Silver Flex fabric is woven in the center of this, and the exterior shell is all acrylic. And then, like I said, what really got my attention was the testosterone thing. And they've got protective underwear. So it's kind of like a Faraday cage for your family jewels. And they, by the way, they have these for men and women, because reproductive damage is reproductive damage. It doesn't matter what sex you are. So, but there's that. They're lined with this, and these again are super soft and comfortable. Which is one of the things I really like about them, is that they're not just protective clothing. They're very comfortable, very well-fitting, and super soft clothing. So they're super comfortable, yet they're tested and certified in military-grade laboratories to block 99% of EMF waves. So that's pretty cool. So anyway, in addition to this great looking t-shirt, they've got long sleeve t-shirts, they've got women's clothing, they've got hoodies, so they got all kinds of stuff. It's all features the Silver Flex and the Wave Stopper. So anyway, that's the Lamb's protective clothing, and I think it's like I said, I think it's definitely worth exploring. If you can do something to protect yourself from this continued bombardment from electromagnetic frequency, then why not at least explore it, right? So anyway, thanks again to the folks at Lamb's Protective Clothing, not only for sponsoring this video, which is pretty cool, but for addressing this potential health hazard with some really normal looking, comfortable clothing instead of something, you know, weird. And thank you as always for watching Survival on Purpose. I really appreciate it. Remember, survival's not an accident, so be prepared. I'll see you next time.